1998 Chevy pickup. Leaks water down into the floor. Gets wet right along the door sill. Originally I had thought that it was probably the seals and stuff, but I siliconed those and the leak was still there. Yesterday I checked it and it hadn't gotten wet all the way along, but I found out that it was getting wet way up in the front underneath the dashboard. A little internet search brought me to this screw right here is above the air intake, which goes straight down into the fan. It's a lip that's raised up that keeps water that runs down into your air intakes up here from running straight into the fan. This is a water drain right here. Comes off with one screw here and one screw down here. I've had my water drain off, it's completely clear. It's pretty big, so it's not going to block up very easy. What I've also found is, look at that crack right there in that sealant. So if that is above that drain hole, then so is the edge of this piece of sheet metal right here. So there's cracks around the edge of that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to clean this crack out right here. Just open it up a little bit with either a scraper or a screwdriver, depending on what it takes to get a little bit out of there. Not really going to try to scratch it in real deep or anything. Then I'll put some flowable silicone in it. I'm going to go most of the way around this thing. I can see cracks here, here, and at that end. So I'm going to probably seal most of the way around it. Paying particular attention to this end because that's where it can drop right into the intake for the fan. The fan intake sits somewhere in this area and just stands straight up off the bottom. This screw leaks into the intake. So this screw I'm going to reseal with regular silicone. Well, that's not what I did. Little change of plans. This is just some sealant tape. I bought this off Granger in a pretty good sized roll, but it's sticky. It's kind of like something you'd use to seal taillights in on older cars. But I'm just going to cut some circles out of this tape and set those around the screw holes so that those screws can't leak. If I didn't have this, I would just put a generous glob of silicone on top of them just before I drop the top plastic plate down and put a screw in it. That is actually a pretty good crack in that sealant. You can see as soon as I started scraping on it a little bit, some chunks of it actually came out. So I'm going to clean that up, put a little silicone in it, and of course seal up around that screw. Well, now all we got to do is flowable silicone in the crack. And I'm just going to put them in here over the top of where the screw holes are. I'm going to cover this front one just for good measure. I've already put one over the back one. That should seal it. It should stop water from getting to the edges of the hole, I hope. Well, I put it together and that wasn't all the leaks. Take two. Well, it's been a couple of weeks and I hadn't noticed any water in the truck at all. But I went and got my new parts truck. She's a beauty. And when I brought the truck and trailer back, I left this thing parked in the yard with this front corner downhill for about 2.5, 3 days. And it rained off and on for those 2.5 or 3 days. And on the last day that I checked it, I found water inside the truck. I've been leaving these floor panels off so I could see if it got wet. So I decided to put some paper towels up in the front corner here around different spots. I sprayed it with water, cleaned that out real good up there so I can reseal it. And I came in here to check to see how the towels were, and this one right here in the very corner is the only one that's wet. This one's dry. This one's dry. The one down inside of here is fairly dry. Yeah, it's dry. And so now I know that the water's coming in at the seam in the top corner. I've got a lot less water. It takes days of rain to make it leak. But I still got one more leak to fix, and I think it's coming from cracks right here along here and in the bottom corner of this cowl box. So I'm going to take all this off, see if I can find a leak in there. We're getting closer to having a dry truck, but we're not there yet. I took this drain vent cover back off and looked inside of there to make sure the sealant wasn't cracked. It looked like it was in good shape, but I went ahead and put a little flowable silicone in there just to make sure. Well, I've removed all the cracked up sealant around here, and I'm going to put some flowable silicone in it. This area right here that had all the cracks in it, when I pressed on that with a scribe, it just caved in. So obviously a lot of water was getting through those big cracks and going down into this foam. Hopefully that was the problem. We'll see. And now we just fill in all the little crevices with flowable silicone and hope for the best. I'm sure this big hole right here will probably need to be filled a couple times because it'll probably run way down into it. Oh yeah, it's already settling down in there. So we'll have to let that cure a little bit before I can put any more on top of it. It'll probably fall down and leave a hole. The rest of the video is just putting the vent cover and the windshield wipers back on. The picture shows the locations for the screws that hold the vent cover back on. And it slides right in. And you have to hook up this hose for the windshield washer right here. Presto. I'm going to put most of the rest of the screws in before I put these two screws in on this end because I put that tape over the top and I can't see the holes anymore. This is just for anybody who hasn't taken these out or put them back in. Tab here, and a screw right there. To get them out, take that screw out. That tab goes in and that tab slides out of the back. Screw out, pull it this way, up and out. All right, this is for anybody who hasn't taken wiper blades off these. Take the whole arm off. This just raises up. Just put a screwdriver in behind that, pop it up, it'll come right off. Put it on, goes right back on. It has an alignment tab, meaning the splines on the shaft will only go on one way. Once you get it all the way down, the tab will press back in. There it goes. And then the arm will come down. This tab will not raise unless this arm is all the way up. So raise the arm all the way up, lift the tab up and just wiggle it slightly and it'll come off. Now all we do is get it dried out inside, wait for it to rain, and I will put a comment down below in the video description after it rains whether or not that completely stopped my leak, but I'll bet it helps a lot. And again, I'm happy to report that the truck no longer leaks. In case you're wondering how a guy goes about acquiring such a beautiful truck, here's a video for you. And if you're interested in some of the other things I've got going on in the shop, here's a couple more videos for you, and you can always check out my playlists. Thank you for sharing my videos. Like, subscribe, and as always, thanks for watching.